All right, listeners, ready to dive deep into Azeroth's warrior cultures.
Always up for a good deep dive, especially one about warriors.
We've got these articles. They're all about history and fighting styles and some pretty epic heroes.
Yeah, I had to look through those sources earlier. Some really good stuff in there.
So we'll try to bring those to life for you today, give you a real feel for what it means to be a warrior in Azeroth.
Should be fun.
Yeah. So let's start with the classics. Human knights.
Can't go wrong with knights.
Right. Everyone loves the shining armor, unwavering chivalry kind of guys.
The archetypal hero, for sure.
But I'm thinking about, their history, those brutal troll wars. I bet those really shaped what it meant to be a human knight.
Oh, absolutely. The Troll Wars, those were a crucible moment for human knights.
Crucible, how so?
Well, think about it. They're facing these ferocious troll berserkers, right? Total chaos and brutality. The humans had to adapt. They had to become more disciplined, more strategic.
I see what you mean. Like they couldn't just rely on individual strength. They had to work together.
Exactly. They had to learn to fight as a unit, to form those unbreakable shield walls, to coordinate those devastating night charges. It's a legacy that still defines them today.
It's amazing how those early battles really laid the foundation for the human fighting style. And they were fighting alongside the High Elves back then, right?
Right. That alliance was forged in the fires of the Troll Wars. They had to learn to cooperate, to combine their strengths if they wanted to survive against a common enemy.
And from those battles, from those hard-won victories, emerged some truly legendary figures.
Oh yeah, some of the biggest names in Azeroth's history.
Like Anduin Lothar, the Lion of Azeroth.
You can't talk about human knights without mentioning Lothar. He's the ultimate example of what it means to be a hero, a true knight.
His name's practically synonymous with human knighthood. But what is it about him? Why does he stand out so much?
It's his selflessness, his unwavering dedication to his people. He was willing to sacrifice everything for the Alliance, and he did. In the end, he gave his life at Blackrock Spire, defending his people from the Horde.
It's a powerful legacy, a martyr for the cause.
Right. His death was a huge blow to the Alliance, but it also solidified his place in history as a legend, a shining example for all aspiring knights to follow.
And that legacy, that ideal of self-sacrifice, it seems to run through the lineage of human warrior kings. Look, King Varian Wrynn, another incredible figure.
Varian, he's a fascinating character.
Yeah, the guy rose from the gladiatorial pits to rule a kingdom. You don't see that every day.
He's a testament to the human warrior's adaptability. He was forged in the fires of the arena, honed into a weapon of pure fury. But he also learned strategy leadership. He became more than just a brawler, he became a king.
And you can't forget that nickname, Logosh the Ghost Wolf.
Oh yeah, that name strikes fear into the hearts of his enemies. It speaks to that primal ferocity that he never truly lost, even as he became a king.
And then his final stand on the broken shore facing the Legion, talk about going out in a blaze of glory.
He held the line against impossible odds, sacrificing himself to allow his soldiers to escape.
A true warrior king following in Lothar's footsteps.
Both Lothar and Varian, they demonstrate that for human knights, true strength isn't just about physical prowess. It's about that unwavering will to protect their people, even at the ultimate cost.
It's inspiring stuff. But let's shift gears a bit. From the disciplined valor of human knights to a warrior culture that's often seen as their polar opposite.
You're thinking about the orcs.
Yeah, the Orcish Blade Masters, primal rage, unstoppable fury, Loktar Ogre.
A very different kind of warrior.
But I wonder how much of that brutality is inherent to their culture and how much is a result of the demonic corruption. They weren't always like that, right?
It's a complex question.
Mm-hmm.
Orcs, even before the Burning Legion, they were a fierce people. A warrior culture through and through.
So they always had that warrior spirit, but it was twisted by the demons.
Exactly. Their strength, their loyalty to their clan, those were always core values. But the demonic influence, it warped those values.
So it wasn't just about making them more bloodthirsty.
No, it was about perverting their sense of honor. That deep-seated loyalty to their clan, it became twisted into blind obedience to conquest and destruction.
It's like they lost sight of what it truly meant to be a warrior.
Right. And it took a leader like Thrall, someone who had seen the destructive path the orcs had taken, to help them reclaim a more balanced approach.
Thrall, he's a fascinating figure in Orcish history. He didn't reject their ferocity. He helped them temper it, reforge it into something more controlled, more strategic.
Yeah, he helped them rediscover their honor, their sense of purpose.
And that's reflected in the modern Orcish Blade Master, right? They still have that incredible fury, but they've learned to channel it.
Exactly. They're still a terrifying force on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But they're more than just mindless berserkers. They coordinate their attacks. They think strategically. They become masters of their rage instead of slaves to it.
And even amidst that controlled fury, they've produced individuals who embody both the brutality and the complex code of honor that defines Orcish warriors.
Yeah, the orcs have a rich history of legendary figures, both heroes and villains.
Well, let's talk about some of them. We can't talk about Orcish blade masters without mentioning Gromash Hellscream.
Ah, Gromash. His story is a wild ride.
It's a roller coaster of bloodlust and redemption, isn't it? He was blinded by rage at first, but in the end he rose above it.
He made the ultimate sacrifice to free his people from the demonic curse. He slew Manaroth, the Pit Lord, who had enslaved his people.
A powerful moment in Orcish history. A true act of redemption.
It shows that even those who have succumbed to the darkest impulses can find redemption.
And speaking of powerful moments, have you ever delved into the legend of Broxigor the Red? I mean, talk about a warrior facing impossible odds.
Broxigor, his story is almost mythical.
It's incredible. An orc who time traveled and ended up fighting in the War of the Ancients 10,000 years before his time.
Imagine that, facing the full might of the Burning Legion in a time when the world was still young.
And not just facing them, he actually wounded Sargeras, the Titan, who commanded the Legion.
It's a feat of strength and courage that has become legendary among the orcs.
He embodies that unwavering determination, that willingness to fight for what's right, even in the face of certain death.
And his sacrifice. Throwing himself into the portal to buy time for the world's defenders. It cemented his place as one of the most heroic figures in Orcish history.
A true legend. And from those near-mythical tales, we jump to a more recent but equally powerful example of the Orcish warrior's complex morality, Vorok Sarfang.
Forfang, his story is a tragedy but also an inspiration.
He defied Sylvanas. Windrunner challenged her to a Magora when so many others were afraid to stand up to her.
He was bound by tradition, by his loyalty to the Horde, but he also recognized the corruption that had taken hold, the path of tyranny that Sylvanas was leading them down.
And he was willing to die for what he believed in.
He challenged her knowing that he might lose, knowing that he might die, but he did it anyway because he knew it was the right thing to do.
For orcs, honor isn't about blind obedience. It's about standing up for what's right, even if it means going against your own war chief.
And his death? It sparked a rebellion. It reminded the orcs of what it truly meant to be honorable to fight for what you believe in.
His sacrifice was a turning point for the Horde.
It showed them that true strength lies not just in physical prowess, but in the courage to stand against injustice, even within your own ranks.
From the fiery heart of Orcish honor, let's journey into the mountains to the home of the dwarves.
Ah, the dwarves. A people forged from stone and steel.
I've always been fascinated by their connection to the earth. Do you think it's a literal power source for them, or more of a spiritual connection that fuels their resilience?
It's both. It's a bond that runs deeper than words. They draw strength from the mountains, a resilience that allows them to withstand incredible punishment and emerge from battle, battered but unbroken.
They're like the mountains themselves, unwavering, unyielding.
Right. And that connection is even stronger with the Mountain Kings,
Yeah.
the elite warriors of dwarven society.
The Mountain Kings, they're almost mythical figures, aren't they?
They tap into the earth's power in a way that few others can. It's said they enter a battle trance where they shrug off wounds and become increasingly powerful as the fight rages on.
It's incredible how their culture, their very way of life, is reflected in their warrior traditions. And speaking of dwarven resilience, we can't forget King Magni Bronzebeard. His transformation into Diamond is a testament to that connection to the earth, wouldn't you say?
It's a fascinating phenomenon, a physical manifestation of that bond. He's literally become one with the mountain.
And his brother Mirrodin, another example of that dwarven hardiness, he survived a blow that should have been fatal, only to return and lead his people with even greater determination.
The dwarves, they're a tough bunch.
They don't give up easily.
They face hardship head on. They refuse to be broken. They find strength in their shared heritage and their unwavering dedication to their people.
From the enduring strength of the dwarves, let's delve into the shadows of Teldrassil, home to the Night Elf Wardens and Sentinels.
The Night Elves, masters of stealth and shadow.
I've always been drawn to their blend of grace and ferocity. Their fighting style, it's almost like a dance amidst the trees. What are your thoughts on how their reverence for nature influences their warrior traditions?
It's fundamental to their way of life, that connection. They see themselves as protectors of the natural world, not just of their people. And their fighting style, it reflects that. It's like a harmonious relationship with the forest itself.
Yeah, like they've turned the forest into a weapon almost. The sentinels with their moonglaves and their agility.
Yeah.
It's incredible how they blend with the trees.
The Sentinels, masters of both ranged and melee combat. They can rain down glaives from a distance with deadly accuracy, or they can engage in close quarters, combat their movements swift and fluid like a predator stalking its prey.
And then you have the Wardens, more shrouded in shadow and secrecy.
The Wardens, they're the embodiment of Night Elf justice, relentless hunters. They operate in the shadows, utilizing stealth speed shadow magic to subdue their enemies.
Often before their targets even realize they're being hunted.
Exactly. They're a force to be reckoned with.
It's amazing how these two distinct warrior traditions, the Sentinels and the Wardens, represent different aspects of the Night Elf's connection to nature.
It's a reflection of the duality that exists within nature itself, right? The Night Elves, they recognize that nature is both beautiful and dangerous, nurturing and unforgiving.
Yeah, like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And their warrior traditions, they embrace both sides of that coin, allowing them to defend their world from any threat.
And speaking of legendary figures, Maev's Shadow Song. Her pursuit of Illidan's storm rage is practically a legend in itself.
Maiev. Her story is a complex one, a tale of duty, obsession, and ultimately tragedy.
Tragedy, how so?
Well, she dedicated her life to imprisoning Illidan. She believed that his power posed too great a threat to Azeroth. But her pursuit of him, it consumed her. It warped her sense of justice and ultimately led to her own downfall.
It's a reminder that even the most dedicated warriors can lose themselves in their pursuit of justice.
It's a cautionary tale for sure. But there are also figures like Jared Shadowsong, a hero who emerged from obscurity during the War of the Ancients. He demonstrated extraordinary leadership and combat prowess against the Burning Legion.
Jared Shadowsong. He's a bit of an enigma, isn't he?
Yeah. He disappears for millennia only to reappear when his people needed him most.
It's like he's connected to time itself, able to endure even the longest trials.
It speaks to the Night Elves' long history, their connection to the ancient world.
From the ancient forests of the Night Elves, let's journey to the windswept plains of Mulgur, home to the Tauren. Their warrior traditions seem so different from the cultures we've discussed so far. They exude a sense of calm, strength, a deep respect for the Earth Mother that permeates every aspect of their lives.
The Tauren, they're a fascinating counterpoint to the more aggressive warrior cultures of Azeroth.
Like, they're strong, but they don't feel the need to constantly prove it.
Right. Their strength is undeniable, but they wield it with a wisdom and patience that sets them apart.
I'm curious about how their spiritual beliefs, their reverence for the Earth Mother, actually influences their combat style. Is it more than just drawing inspiration from nature? Do they actually channel some kind of power from the Earth?
It's more than just symbolic, that connection. It's a source of strength, both physical and spiritual. They believe that the Earth Mother provides for them, protects them, and guides their actions.
And that's reflected in those earth-shaking war stomps that can disrupt entire enemy formations.
Oh, absolutely. It's a display of raw power, but also a demonstration of their connection to the very ground they stand on.
In their use of totems and spears, those seem to be extensions of that connection as well.
They believe that those weapons are imbued with the Earth Mother's power, and they wield them with a reverence that's both awe-inspiring and intimidating.
When you talk about Tauren warriors, it's impossible not to mention Cairn Bloodhoof. He wasn't just a powerful chieftain, he was a symbol of the Tauren people's wisdom, strength, and honor.
His legacy is one of unity, compassion, and unwavering dedication to his people.
His death was a devastating loss, not just for the Tauren, but for the entire Horde.
Poisoned by treachery in a Magora.
Yeah.
It was a tragic end for such a noble warrior.
But his son Bane, he seems to have inherited his father's strength, both physical and spiritual.
Bane faces a difficult path, carrying the weight of his father's legacy, and leading the Tauren through a time of turmoil and uncertainty.
He's got big shoes to fill, for sure.
But he embodies that same calm wisdom, that same unwavering commitment to honor and justice that defined Cairn's leadership.
And let's not forget about other notable Tauren warriors, like Holm High Mountain, who fought in the War of the Ancients. His story shows that Tauren bravery and strength have deep roots stretching back to some of Azeroth's most ancient conflicts.
Holm's victory over a colossal demon wielding a legendary spear imbued with the Earth Mother's power is a testament to the Tauren's enduring spirit. They are a people who have faced unimaginable threats and emerged stronger, their connection to their land and their beliefs unwavering.
From the serene strength of the Tauren, let's shift gears to a warrior culture that's all about raw primal power, the Troll Berserkers. Their fighting style is legendary, a whirlwind of fury and aggression that's as terrifying as it is effective.
The Trolls, they're a fascinating study in contrast. While other cultures have refined their warrior traditions incorporating strategy and discipline, the Trolls seem to have embraced the primal aspects of combat, channeling their rage into a frenzy that can overwhelm even the most skilled opponents.
Yeah, they're not exactly known for their restraint.
Their berserker rage is legendary.
But I'm curious about how much of that rage is natural instinct and how much is amplified by their rituals and their connection to the Loa.
It's a combination of both. Trolls are naturally aggressive. They possess remarkable regenerative abilities which allow them to sustain their frenzied attacks long after others would have succumbed to exhaustion or injury.
So they're built for this kind of fighting.
Right. But they also enhance their rage through voodoo rituals, tribal markings, and potent concoctions that dull pain and heighten their senses.
It's like they're pushing themselves beyond the limits of what most mortals can endure.
Exactly. And their use of masks, trophies, psychological warfare, it all adds another layer of fear to their already formidable reputation.
It's like they're not just trying to defeat their enemies physically, but to break them mentally as well.
And their history is filled with examples of legendary berserkers who embodied that terrifying ferocity. Figures like Zul'jin, the Amani warlord, whose hatred for the elves fueled a lifetime of conflict.
Zul'jin. He endured torture, loss, betrayal, yet his spirit never wavered. He just kept fighting.
He's a testament to troll tenacity, their refusal to be broken.
And then there's Vol'jin, the shadow hunter who rose to become war chief of the Horde. He seemed to represent a different kind of troll leadership, one that combined strategic cunning with spiritual power.
Vol'jin was a master tactician. He utilized guerrilla warfare and his knowledge of voodoo to outmaneuver his opponents. A leader who understood the importance of both strength and cunning.
And he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty.
He's a warrior who could inspire his people and strike fear into the hearts of his enemies.
His death sacrificing himself to save the Horde was a tragic loss.
A reminder that even the most cunning warriors are mortal, and that true leadership often demands the ultimate sacrifice.
But Vol'jin wasn't the only troll warrior who left a mark on Azeroth. We've also seen figures like Jinta Senjin and Mandikar, each exemplifying a different aspect of the troll warrior tradition.
Their stories demonstrate the diversity within troll culture. From cunning shadow hunters to brutal warlords, their warriors have shaped the course of Azeroth's history, leaving a legacy of both glory and brutality.
Speaking of warrior cultures that often fly under the radar, let's talk about the gnomes. They might be known for their tinkering and their love of gadgets. But how does that translate to the battlefield? I mean, are we talking about tiny warriors charging into battle with wrenches and screwdrivers?
You might be surprised by how fierce gnomish warriors can be. They might lack the physical stature of an orc or a tauren, but they more than make up for it with their ingenuity, their tenacity, and their sheer love of blowing things up.
So it's about using their brains to overcome their physical limitations.
Absolutely. They're masters of adapting their technology for combat, turning their inventions into weapons that can level the playing field against larger, stronger opponents.
I'm picturing a battlefield littered with nets, explosives, and maybe even those giant mecha suits they built in Nomoregan.
You're not far off. Gnomish warriors are all about exploiting any advantage they can find, whether it's using their size to dodge and weave through combat, or turning their enemies' own weapons against them with clever gadgets and traps.
And they've proven themselves in battle time and again, haven't they? I mean, they played a key role in defending Nomoregan from the Trogs, and their artillery crews were instrumental in the Second War.
Gnomish warriors might not always get the recognition they deserve, but their contributions to Azeroth's defense are undeniable.
And they've got heroes like High Tinker, Gelbin Mechatork, who isn't afraid to put down his wrench and lead the charge when his people are threatened.
Mechatork is a brilliant inventor, but he's also a courageous leader, a symbol of the gnome's indomitable spirit. He embodies that can-do attitude that defines their culture, a belief that no challenge is insurmountable with a little ingenuity and a lot of explosives.
From the explosive ingenuity of the gnomes, let's turn to a race that's known for their grace and their deep connection to the light, the Draenei. While many of them follow the path of the paladin, there are those who choose the path of the warrior, relying on their physical prowess and martial skill to defend their people.
The Draenei are a race of survivors, their history marked by tragedy and loss. While many find solace and strength in the light, there are those who, for various reasons, choose to walk a different path, relying on their own physical and mental discipline to protect their people.
It's interesting that they have these two distinct approaches to protecting their brethren. What sets a Draenei warrior apart from, say, a Draenei paladin? I mean, are we talking about a difference in fighting style, or is there a deeper philosophical distinction?
Draenei warriors, unlike their paladin counterparts, choose not to wield the light's power in combat. Their focus is on honing their physical abilities, mastering weapons and armor and developing a fighting style that emphasizes strength, speed, and precision. They believe that relying on their own skills, their own inner fortitude, is a way of honoring their ancestors and proving their worth as protectors of their people.
They're a physically imposing race with a long history of fighting the Burning Legion. I imagine that experience has forged a resilience and a determination that goes beyond physical strength.
Absolutely. The Draenei have faced millennia of hardship, forced to flee their homeworld and constantly battle for survival. Their warriors carry the weight of that history, their fighting style honed by countless battles against unimaginable horrors.
Do we have any examples of notable Draenei warriors from history? I mean, figures who embody that resilience and that unwavering dedication to their people?
Certainly. There's Restylon, the captain of the guard in the ancient city of Telmor. He bravely defended his people against the orcs, leading a desperate last stand that became a testament to the Draenei warriors' courage and self-sacrifice. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, he refused to back down, inspiring his comrades to fight to the very end.
His story reminds us that even in defeat, there can be honor and heroism.
Precisely, Restylon's sacrifice and the sacrifices of countless other Draenei warriors throughout history demonstrate that true strength lies not just in victory, but in the unwavering will to protect those you cherish, even when all hope seems lost.
From the noble grace of the Draenei, let's venture into the shadowed realm of the Forsaken, a race forged in death and driven by a desire for vengeance. Their warrior traditions are a twisted reflection of their past lives, their fighting styles shaped by the trauma of undeath and the burning need for retribution.
The Forsaken are a fascinating case study in how trauma and loss can warp a culture's warrior traditions. They were once humans with all the complexities and nuances of human society, but their experience of death and resurrection has fundamentally changed them.
Their undeath has stripped away their fear of death, but it's also amplified their pain, their anger, and their resentment towards the living. I'm curious about how those emotions manifest in their combat style. Has it twisted their sense of honor or created a new, darker code?
It's a complex question. The Forsaken don't adhere to the traditional codes of chivalry or honor that we see in human knights. Their experiences have left them jaded, cynical, and often driven by a thirst for revenge.
So we're talking poisons, plagues, and a general disregard for anything resembling fair play.
Their tactics are often brutal, ruthless, and designed to exploit their enemies' weaknesses. They embrace the tools of their undeath, using plagues and poisons as weapons, and their lack of fear makes them dangerous opponents. They're willing to fight to the very end, even if their bodies are falling apart.
That's a terrifying prospect, facing a warrior who feels no pain, fears no death, and is fueled by a rage that can never truly be quenched.
And their ranks are filled with figures who embody that dark intensity. Warriors like Galen Trollbane, the former Prince of Stromgarde, who now serves Sylvanas Windrunner, as a chilling reminder of what the Forsaken are capable of.
His story is a tragic one. A once noble warrior, twisted by death and forced to serve a dark mistress. It makes you wonder what's going on in the minds of these Forsaken warriors. Are they driven purely by vengeance, or is there a flicker of their former selves, a longing for something more than just survival and retribution?
It's a question that haunts many Forsaken. They exist in a state of constant tension, caught between the memories of their past lives and the harsh realities of their undeath. Their warrior traditions are a reflection of that struggle, a blend of the familiar and the monstrous.
From the shadowed depths of the Undercity, let's move on to a race that's known for their, shall we say, unconventional approach to warfare, the Goblins. Their love of profit and their penchant for explosions seem like a dangerous combination on the battlefield.
The Goblins. Their approach to warfare is certainly entertaining. They're not known for their discipline or their adherence to traditional combat strategies.
They'd rather blow something up than engage in hand-to-hand combat, right?
Their love of explosives is legendary, and they're not afraid to use them liberally, whether it's to clear a path and disrupt enemy formations, or just for the sheer joy of watching things go boom.
But they do have warriors, right? I mean, someone has to light the fuse on those bombs. What sets a Goblin warrior apart from, say, a human knight or an Orcish blade master?
Goblin warriors are, let's say, resourceful. They prefer to rely on gadgets, explosives, and cunning tactics to overcome their physical limitations. They're not afraid to fight dirty, and they'll exploit any advantage they can find, whether it's using their small size to their advantage rigging traps or resorting to good old-fashioned bribery.
So it's less about honor and glory and more about maximizing profits, even on the battlefield.
For Goblins, war is just another business opportunity. They're always looking for ways to turn a profit, even in the midst of chaos and destruction.
I have to admit, there's a certain chaotic charm to their approach to warfare.
They might not be the most disciplined or predictable warriors, but they're certainly never boring.
From the unpredictable explosions of the goblins, let's journey to the tranquil lands of Pandaria, home to the Pandaren. Their warrior tradition seems so different from the other cultures we've discussed. They have a serenity about them, a sense of balance and harmony that's reflected in their fighting style.
The Pandaren approach to warfare is deeply rooted in their philosophy, their belief in balance and harmony, extending to every aspect of their lives, including combat.
They're famous for their monks, but they also have warriors, right? What sets a Pandaren warrior apart from the warriors of other races?
Pandaren warriors are masters of blending fluidity and strength. Their movements graceful yet powerful, their strikes precise and devastating. They seek to harmonize offense and defense, creating a fighting style that's both adaptable and incredibly effective.
It's like they've turned combat into an art form, a dance of controlled power and precision.
Their philosophy emphasizes patience, discipline, and control over one's emotions. They believe that true strength lies not just in physical power, but in the ability to remain calm and focused, even in the heat of battle.
That inner peace, that control over their emotions, must give them an edge on the battlefield.
Absolutely. Their ability to remain centered, even when surrounded by chaos, allows them to react with lightning speed, to anticipate their opponent's movements, and to strike with pinpoint accuracy.
And they've proven their warrior prowess time and again, haven't they? I mean, they managed to overthrow the Mogu, who were known for their incredible strength and brutality.
Their victory over the Mogu is a testament to their skill, their determination, and their unwavering belief in their way of life. They might not be as physically imposing as some of the other races,
Right.
but their mastery of martial arts and their unwavering spirit have allowed them to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds.
And let's not forget the Shadowpan, those enigmatic warriors who defended Pandaria from the monstrous Shah and the Mantid. They were shrouded in secrecy, their skills and their dedication to protecting their homeland legendary throughout Pandaria.
The Shadowpan are the embodiment of the Pandaren warrior, ideal masters of stealth swordsmanship and spear combat, trained to anticipate their enemies' movements and to strike with deadly precision. Their commitment to protecting Pandaria is absolute, and they are willing to sacrifice everything to ensure its safety.
So we've journeyed through a vast and diverse array of warrior cultures. From the disciplined knights of Stormwind to the berserker rage of the trolls, the explosive ingenuity of the gnomes to the serene strength of the Pandaren. It's incredible to see how each race brings its own unique perspective and approach to warfare.
It's a testament to the richness and complexity of Azeroth's history and cultures. But it's also important to remember that these warrior traditions haven't evolved in isolation. They've been shaped by conflict, by interactions with each other, and by the evolution of warfare itself.
That's a great point. Let's talk about the evolution of warfare in Azeroth. How have these different warrior cultures influenced each other? How have they adapted to new challenges, new technologies, and new enemies?
Well, for starters, the Troll Wars were a pivotal moment in Azeroth's history. Those ancient conflicts forced the humans and the High Elves to cooperate, to combine their strengths in order to overcome the overwhelming ferocity of the trolls.
It's fascinating to think that those early battles thousands of years ago laid the groundwork for the alliance that we see today. The humans, with their disciplined formations and heavy armor, learned the value of the elves' agility and ranged combat skills, and the elves in turn realized the importance of strategic coordination and the power of a united front.
Those early alliances proved that even the most different cultures could find common ground when faced with a common enemy.
And then, of course, we have the Orcish Wars, those cataclysmic clashes that redefine the very nature of conflict on Azeroth. The arrival of the orcs, with their demonic bloodlust and their brutal tactics, forced the other races to adapt or perish.
The First War was a brutal awakening for the humans. They were unprepared for the orcs' ferocity, their sheer savagery, and the unrelenting onslaught that overwhelmed their defenses. It was a lesson learned in blood and sacrifice.
But the humans are nothing if not adaptable. In the Second War, they returned with a vengeance, forming the Alliance of Lordaeron, a coalition of races that combined their strengths to counter the Horde's might.
The Second War was a turning point, not just for the humans, but for the entire world of Azeroth. It marked the beginning of a new era of warfare, one characterized by large-scale conflicts, complex alliances, and the development of new technologies and tactics.
And let's not forget the role that dwarven riflemen, elven rangers, and gnomish engineers played in the Second War. Their contributions were essential to the Alliance's victory.
Absolutely. The Second War demonstrated that the future of warfare lay in cooperation and bringing together diverse cultures and utilizing their unique strengths to create a more effective fighting force.
And then came the Burning Legion, a threat unlike anything Azeroth had ever seen. It forced the Horde and the Alliance to put aside their differences to fight side by side against a common enemy that threatened to consume the entire world.
The arrival of the Burning Legion was a stark reminder that even the most bitter rivals could find common ground when faced with annihilation. The Battle of Mount Hyjal was a testament to the courage and resilience of Azeroth's warriors, a moment when orcs, humans, night elves, and even the reclusive Tauren fought together to defend their world.
It was a victory that proved that even the most powerful demons could be defeated, but it came at a terrible cost.
The scars of that conflict run deep, and the world of Azeroth is still reeling from the devastation wrought by the Legion. But the lessons learned, the alliances forged, and the sacrifices made will continue to shape the future of warfare.
And the wars didn't end with the Burning Legion, did they?
No conflict is an unfortunate constant in Azeroth's history. The wars in Northrend, the Cataclysm, the discovery of Pandaria, each conflict brought new challenges, new technologies, and new enemies, forcing the warriors of Azeroth to adapt and evolve.
The emergence of the Death Knights, the rise of the Dark Rangers and Demon Hunters, these new threats forced the more traditional warriors to rethink their strategies to incorporate magic and unconventional tactics into their fighting styles.
Exactly. The battlefield is a constantly evolving landscape, and the warriors of Azeroth have proven time and again that they are capable of adapting to new challenges and overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds.
And let's not forget the impact of arenas and gladiatorial combat on the development of individual warrior skills.
Arenas provided a controlled environment where warriors could hone their skills, test their limits, and develop new techniques. Figures like Varian Wrynn emerged from the gladiatorial pits with a refined ferocity, their combat skills sharpened by countless battles against skilled opponents.
It's fascinating to see how these seemingly disparate elements have all come together to shape the warrior cultures of Azeroth. From ancient traditions to modern technologies, from the influence of other cultures to the emergence of new threats. The history of warfare in Azeroth is a complex and ever-evolving tapestry.
And that tapestry is woven with threads of courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering determination to protect one's people and one's way of life.
Well said. So as we move towards the final part of our deep dive, what are your thoughts on the enduring legacy of warriors in Azeroth? What does their future hold in a world that's constantly changing, where new threats are always emerging?
Yeah, it really is incredible when you think about it. The sheer impact warriors have had on shaping Azeroth. They've faced down world-ending threats time and time again.
Their legacy is one of courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to protecting their people and their way of life. It's a legacy that's etched into the very fabric of the world.
From those ancient battlefields to the statues we see honoring the heroes.
Exactly. Their stories are woven into the history of Azeroth. And it's not just the big battles and legendary figures, it's the smaller things too. The cultural touchstones that define each warrior tradition, like the orcs have their Omrigor.
The Omrigor, a ritualistic hunt. It's a coming-of-age ritual for young orcs, a test of strength and skill.
Yeah, but it's more than just that, isn't it?
It's about connecting with their ancestors, their heritage, proving their worthiness to be called warriors.
It's like a spiritual journey as much as a physical one.
It's a reminder that for orcs, becoming a warrior is about more than just wielding a weapon. It's about embracing a legacy of strength, honor, and unwavering loyalty.
And then you have the human knights with their ancient codes of chivalry passed down through generations.
The human knights, they embody a certain idealism, a belief in justice, honor, and the defense of the weak.
It's not just about fighting, it's about being an example, a protector of the innocent.
Their codes of chivalry are more than just rules of engagement. They're a reflection of a deeper philosophy, a belief in a higher purpose that guides their actions.
On and off the battlefield.
Exactly.
And each culture has its own unique way of preparing its warriors. The dwarves with their oaths sworn upon ancient runes, the night elves training in the shadowed depths of the forest, the Tauren seeking guidance from the Earth Mother.
Each warrior tradition is a reflection of the culture from which it springs, shaped by their history, their beliefs, and their relationship with the world around them. It's what makes Azeroth's warrior culture so diverse, so fascinating to explore.
And as the world of Azeroth continues to change as new threats emerge, I wonder how these warrior cultures will adapt.
It's a question that hangs over Azeroth's future. The lines between Horde and Alliance are blurring, old hatreds are being challenged, and the very nature of warfare is changing.
It's a whole new world out there.
We've seen orcs and humans fight side by side against the Burning Legion. We've witnessed the rise of new kinds of warriors like Death Knights and Demon Hunters, The old ways are being challenged, and the future of warfare is uncertain.
And the rise of technology, firearms are becoming more and more common on the battlefield. Who knows what those goblin engineers will come up with next?
That's right. Will these advancements enhance the warrior's role, or will they make traditional skills obsolete? It's a question that many are grappling with.
It's a fascinating dilemma. Will the future of warfare be fought with swords and shields, or with guns and explosives?
Or will we see a fusion of the old and the new? A blending of traditional skills and cutting-edge technology?
Only time will tell.
But one thing is certain, the spirit of the warrior, that unwavering dedication to protecting one's people and one's way of life, will endure no matter what challenges the future holds.
That's a reassuring thought. Azeroth needs its heroes now more than ever.
Indeed. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the next great warrior, the one whose name will be etched in legend, whose story will inspire generations to come.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the warriors of Azeroth.
It's been an epic journey.
We've only scratched the surface. There are countless stories yet to be told, countless battles yet to be fought. But for now, let's raise a glass to the warriors of Azeroth, both past and present, those who stand between us and the darkness, those who embody the courage, the honor, and the unwavering spirit that makes Azeroth such a remarkable world.
Here's to the warriors.
Until next time, may your blades be sharp, your armor strong, and your hearts filled with the unyielding spirit of the warrior. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.